wrote many books, and he's studying curiosity. Imagine this guy is a person who likes curiosity and who is studying what curiosity is. And as a curious person, I like the topic very much. He studies courage, emotional agility, social relationships. He wrote many books. One of the books, The Upside of Your Dark Side, which is already interesting. Dear Todd, my first question to you. You are the father of twins, and you are the twin, and I'm the mother of twins. So I think we have a lot of things in common already. My first question to you, curiosity, why it helps to save marriages and why it helps people to be happy? Why curiosity is important?
Yes, thanks for having me here, and thank you for producing twins that are still functioning and not killing each other, Cain and Abel style. That's a hard accomplishment for any parent of twins. Well, one thing we know, my mentor published an article showing that if you look over the course of 9 years of people in the same romantic relationship, one of the greatest predictors of relationship breakdowns is boredom. It's not conflict, it's not disagreements, it's not finances. It's not whether your families like each other, like a West Side Story or Romeo and Juliet. And one of the reasons is that we often assume we know more about people that we associate with than we actually do. Maybe we have this egocentricity bias where I've downloaded what movies you like, what foods you like, which one of my friends you like, what friends bring out of you, what stories you've told. And there's a certain point in a relationship where you feel overly confident that you could predict what they're going to think about next, what they would like to do in a situation, and you could write their autobiography for them. And the thing about pushing boredom away from relationships is that we know that we're not done evolving. We're constantly downloading new podcasts, reading new books, meeting new strangers, having new thoughts, and our partners are doing it as well. And the advice that I would give based on this research is that know that you feel safe and comforted, that you feel stable enough in your relationship that you can understand what they tend to like and their preferences. And yet there's about a certain percentage that they're changing year by year, and that you want to focus on the 2 to 3% of changes, the new people in their world, the new things they're thinking about, and how their views and perspectives have changed over time. And by focusing on that, there's a certain a jolt of excitement and exultation that this is basically a stranger in your bedroom, even though you've been together for years.
Do you think it's easy or difficult? Because of course, when you think you know everything about your wife, you know what she likes, what she dislikes, what clothes she likes, what food she likes, how you made yourself be curious about this 1-2%? Are you making this artificially, or you're really interested in that?
It's a great question. I think it all starts with, we have to start asking better questions to the people that we care about and the people in our lives, in our work lives, our neighbors, our friends on a regular basis. And I think, and this is typically, there's a male failure here more than women, which is we end up with closed-ended questions. We could ask, we might ask the question when they come home from work and ask, I'm like, oh, you probably had lunch with Jeff and Susie today. How'd it go? It's a closed-ended question. And I think we should start with more open-ended questions, which is like, listen, I have no idea what happened to you at work today. So I'm curious, what were your high, lows, and what did you appreciate about today? You might get the same information, but you're opening a portal of, they might bring something up that you wouldn't have the knowledge to even ask about. So by asking about what were the things that went well and what were the things that you appreciate about today, they might surprise you and just talk about how they saw, a blue monarch butterfly that landed on a tree, and you ended up staying out for lunch an extra 15 minutes. You were late for your meeting, but you told them you saw this blue monarch butterfly, and everybody started talking about butterflies, and the meeting went amazing, even though you were late. You could never ask the question to get to that information unless it was open-ended.
Wonderful. It's very easy to do that, to ask a lot of questions, to be curious, and to ask open questions which give the chance to your partner to answer it fully. You said that one day you met your twins with another girl and they were with the knives cutting some watermelon and you were in shock. You were speaking at the TED Talk. And you said that as a parent, you also should be curious about your kids. As a parents, what you will recommend to people? What do you mean to be curious? Imagine kids with the knives want to kill each other. Normal parent would shout, would make drama, but you were quite curious. How you recommend be curious for parents and not to kill their kids, you know?
That's a big ask. I can't prevent violence in your household between sibling rivalries. That I don't have the knowledge. What I can say is that too many adults underestimate the intelligence and the wisdom of children. And I'm very interested in the idea of that children are constantly creating new narratives about how they experience the world. So I'll give you a concrete example. So my twins are now 14 years of age. They're starting to kind of go out on their own, go to parties, hang out with the opposite sex. I got a phone call last Saturday of saying, with a raspy voice, it seemed an upset voice of saying, "Dad, can you pick me up now from this party?" We were watching this horror movie. I didn't even put my shoes on. Barefoot, drove my car, was there within 3 minutes. And I was like, "Listen, what happened? What are you worried about? What went wrong?" And she said, no, I lost my voice because I was screaming from the horror movie. And I said, "This is great. This is a false alarm that was tested in your early adolescence at 14. Nothing bad happened. Here's the thing. Bad things will happen to you or one of your friends at a party. And this is a test for you now have behavioral evidence that I will be there in a split second and will not judge you or ask questions other than, do you want to share information about what happened? You now know I'm going to be there." And so with that style, in terms of not judging, asking questions, but not forcing, giving them the autonomy to basically decide how much information they want to give to me or not, I am now accessing more intel. That's what I want. Parents want intel. You want to know if your kids smoked a cigarette for the first time, if they drank alcohol for the first time, if some guy hit on them and how were they able to say no if they didn't want to be hit on. You want the information, but the only way you get intel is if you're not judgmental and harsh and controlling when you get that information. So the advice that I would give is that save your judgments for when they're not there and you're telling your best friend or your partner. But with your kid, listen openly, not as a friend, but it's basically as an ally, is that they are navigating the world. It's challenging. They're going to face hiccups and obstacles. And you want to know what they are so that you know what is the beast that you have to train them and help them on.
Todd, tell me please, is it difficult for you as a father when you were running in the car barefoot to save your girls because you don't know what's going on, or you are, as you're a psychologist and clinical psychologist and you're working on this topic for 15 years, you devoted a big part of your life studying all that and helping people, or you just thinking, no, I should behave like an alien?
I am no different than any other parent. So my psychologist lens, open, closes up immediately. It's closed immediately. I'm basically in savior mode right now. But as soon as I see my daughter and I see there's no blood, there's no scars, there's no, her dress isn't cut into shreds. At that moment, I switch gears. Okay, how am I going to acquire information is the first thing I think about. How am I going to make her feel safe? And then how am I going to make sure that in the long term, I don't mess this up so I can keep on getting information? These are the three thoughts that pop into my head. And those three thoughts determine, with this mental calculus, what's my next move. And I think this is the thing about parents, is that you will react strongly in situations, but you want to have some sort of mental footnote or post-it that's going to say, okay, if I'm too strong right now, what will it do to me 3 weeks later, 3 months later, when another difficult situation happens? And if that's the only thing that you remember from this conversation, you will upgrade your parenting by 3% by just having that thought.
It is very powerful. I know it's very powerful. Only thinking what my situation, what it will give me in 3 days, in 3 weeks, in 3 months, in 3 years. It's a very powerful statement because it makes you to think in progress, and really, it's very powerful. I understand what you're talking about. Todd, my next question is about your book, The Upside of Your Dark Side. Normally, dark side is something terrible. You know, we want to be superheroes with white hearts, not with black hearts. You are writing about the upside of your dark side. Why? And also you wrote why being your whole self, not just good. Not just good. Of course, we want to be good. We don't want to be our black side. So what is the main secret of this, the upside of your dark side? How we can use the dark side in us?
Well, the main thesis is that you have parts of your personality, everyone that's listening right now, including you and I, that we prematurely rule out because it's not comfortable, it doesn't feel good, it's not socially acceptable. We spend too much of our time modifying our behavior and what we say publicly because we're worried about what other people think. We fear what other people will think. And this is a book about saying, some of the parts of your personality are there for 2.5 million years of evolution because they help you make progress towards very meaningful goals. Avoiding diseases, avoiding enemies, making friends, forming long-term relationships, maintaining long-term relationships, developing a strong sense of identity that you will not be pulled back and forth based on the whims of whatever people care about or worry about in the moment. Generativity, focusing on helping the next generation become wiser and intelligent and make a better world. These are our primary motives in life. And if you rule out anger, well, what we know is every civil rights movement in every country throughout history has been influenced by a minority of people in terms of number that felt righteous indignation, which is a strong form of anger, of saying, we are not being respected, we are not being tolerated, we're not being treated fairly, and we are not going to take it anymore.
Don't tell me about this. Russia is a country of revolutions, and you know that everybody say, wow, bravo, bravo, revolution, and then so many people are in the street, everything upside down, everybody's poor. You know how many times we were eliminating rich for the poor, and then everybody became poor. It's to make the story simple, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at Alexei Navalny, right? In terms of, I mean, the idea is, it's never been about Alexei Navalny, who's in prison, and he probably potentially won't survive being in prison. It's basically is he cared about the issue of fair, just elections to such a degree that he's basically saying, I have enough righteous indignation and anger that I am willing to risk my life for this cause. And it's not for me, it's for the collective good of the Russian people that I care so much about. And that inspired thousands of people, not just in Russia, but people like me who are living in New York on the other side of the world, are saying, listen, if this guy's willing to risk his life in prison, what am I not standing up against publicly? Because I'm worried that someone's going to say something mean on Twitter, or I'm worried that basically I'm going to be judged by my boss, or I'm going to be judged by my neighbor. Like, what am I holding close to my heart that I care about, but unwilling to say because I might be socially persecuted? And these Alexei Navalny's of the world, their anger inspires all of us to take these negative, uncomfortable emotions and use it as fuel to make progress towards things that are difficult. And it might not happen in our lifetime. Like in your lifetime, the elections in Russia may not be up to par in terms of democracy, but small incremental changes come from someone saying, I'm willing to risk important parts of my life because I care about it. So this is the dark side. It's a dark side of our personality.
Todd, besides anger, what else can we use? Can we use other negative feelings like jealousy, like being envy to somebody?
Envy. Yeah, envy is my favorite negative emotion. So here's an emotion where you see someone who has something or is able to do something that you're unable to do. So for me, for example, when I listen to Tim Ferriss on his podcast, he asks these amazing open-ended questions, and his follow-up questions show that he's paying attention for 3.5 hour long conversations. And so when I get envious, I'm like, I don't have that skill of sustained focus for such long periods of time. My mind starts to wander off after 35 minutes or so. So what envy does is it makes you feel that you have a deficiency in yourself and that you wish you were like this other person. You wish you could jump as high as Michael Jordan. You wish you could lift as much weight as Arnold Schwarzenegger. You wish you could be as calm and disciplined as Bill Gates in terms of developing Microsoft over multiple decades. Well, what envy does is it also makes you think, how can I deconstruct what they did, steal some of their skills, and apply it to my own personal DNA? So in terms of Tim Ferriss, of how he asks questions, it's made me much better at looking at, okay, he doesn't follow up on the last thing that people say. He follows up on the thing where people's pupils dilate and they speak the fastest and they're most excited about. And he often says, hold on, let's go back to when you talked about your father, because you started to get really excited and I could see that was really energizing for you. And I took that skill and I stole it. And so think of envy as this is your mobilization to figure out there's something in this person that I want to reverse engineer and add to my toolbox.
This is interesting. I see that you are using the upside of your dark side. You're using the skills that we normally neglect and even afraid of. And you really do some engineering on that and some, as you say, deconstruction, using the part of that. Tell me, please, if you would like to give an advice to hidden heroes, to people who are hidden by some reason, since you studied many topics, social relationships, courage, curiosity, what you will recommend to people who are a little bit afraid to be heroes and by some reason they're hidden?
Well, to keep it brief, because I've written entire books, my number one bit of advice that's helped me the most and helped a lot of my students in my 16 years of teaching classes on the science of well-being is aim for nothing more than 80% likability in your social world. And so if you're speaking at a work meeting and you're trying to wow everybody and impress everyone with your intelligence and whatever ideas and insights you're bringing to the room, just assume that 20% of people are going to dislike you and your ideas because you're pushing boundaries and because you're questioning the status quo and because you're saying something that nobody else has said before and has been unwilling to say. And if you aim for 80% likability, you're going to assume you're going to get friction. You assume someone's going to reject you. You assume someone's going to be jealous about you. You're not going to be surprised. You're actually welcoming it. And if you get higher than 80% approval in a social gathering, you may be playing it too safe. You may not be revealing the things you're really thinking about. You might not be offering your political views. You might not be saying, listen, you know what? The thing you just said, I don't like the fact that you address me and not my wife who is sitting right next to me. Like it's like, just address us both next time. And just when you say that, some people will take it as, whoa, like you're pretty aggressive. And 80% of people will say, oh, shoot, I didn't notice that. I didn't even notice I was only addressing you and not the two of you together. So I think the idea of reducing the amount to which our behavior is influenced by the fears that other people will judge us will allow you to have more courage in your life.
I think this is a good advice. At least it will make your life more open, more interesting. You can live more active life and you are moving forward. It's not that you are hiding under the blanket thinking what other people will think about you. When I go to sleep, I'm, saying a prayer. Let me give the light to all people who love me and who dislike me, because we cannot be loved by everybody. And this is the secret of life, but we should give light to everybody. Dear Todd, thank you so much. I will continue reading your books because I think you're revealing many secrets and you are specialist in revealing secrets about people. And I like with what methodology you're doing it. You have like a system that you study brick by brick, and this is very unique about you. Also, you have a lot of dogs, a lot of twins, a wife.
I appreciate that, Olga, and I appreciate that Yeah.
You have a full house of everybody,
The
and I
signal
can say
just
bravo to you. I can
went
say,
out at the end.
I can say, thank you very much, Todd, for being with us. It was a big pleasure. Thank you.